Stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take the roll, please.
Connor.
Here.
Morissette.
Here.
Alms.
Here.
McCormick.
Here.
Hubbard.
Here.
Hoggett.
Here.
Hall. Here.
All right. First of all, I would like to congratulate Joyce Hall, John Hoggett, Randy Morissette for their re-elections.
Thank you. Thanks.
All worked out, huh? Excellent. So once again, congratulations to everybody. We will take comments and suggestions from citizens. Once again, as we did in the last meeting, please note that we do have the EMS on our agenda tonight. And so according to our rules, we do not allow public comments on things that are going to be followed on the agenda later in the meeting. We will have a citizen input meeting following up after this meeting, allowing citizens open hearing on the EMS issue. So I just want to make that clear before we start. Anybody have anything to say? Citizen comments? Anybody? Citizen comments? Citizen comments? Citizen comments. Close that portion of the agenda. Take up the consent agenda.
To approve the regular session meeting minutes of March 27th, 2017. To approve council claims in the amount of $453,845.49. Contingent on payment of any outstanding debt owed to the city and successful completion of the background check. Approve the issuance of 12 regular operator licenses for the period of April 11th, 2017 to June 30th, 2018. To Christy Schrank, Jenna Flanders, Ryan Gilliland, Brianna Ofdahl, Lindsay Swenson, Bridget Warren, Katrina Spild, Mary Main, Eric Simonson, Derek Block, Cole Stark, and Alex Herbst. Also, one temporary operator license for Dustin Danielson for the Hudson Hockey Association event for April 21st through April 23rd, 2017. To approve one lot certified survey map as proposed by Richard Pearson and Adderey Home Health and Hospice. To set a public hearing date for May 15th, 2017 in regards to Municipal Code Chapter 255 zoning, breweries, brew pubs and wineries and distilleries. To proceed with the auction of the public works equipment as noted that there will be used to offset the cost for equipment proposed for the 2017-2018 capital bonds. To approve the temporary Class B beer license for Hudson Hockey Association on April 21st through April 23rd, 2017. To approve the amusement device owner's license to Aspen Video and Vending and the 6 amusement devices listed on the application contingent on payment of any outstanding debt owed to the city.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second for approval. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Unfinished business, discussion and possible action on the consideration of ordinance 5-17, creation of municipal code, chapter 240, stormwater management.
Good evening.
Danny, good evening.
Ordinance 5-17 will establish a stormwater management code for the city of Hudson. This is part of our MS4 program. It's a federal guidelines. MS4 stands for Municipal Separate Stormwater Sewer System permit that the city now is required to comply. Mr. Eric Henningsgaard from SEH is here tonight to answer any questions, along with City Engineer Tom Sifko, Public Works Director Tom Zulli, and myself. At the last council meeting, a public hearing was conducted, and there were no public comments. Staff recommends approval of Ordinance 5-17, which will establish Chapter 240, Stormwater Management in the Municipal Code.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Motion and second to suspend. Roll call.
Morset.
Yes.
Alms.
Yes.
McCormick.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Haggett.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Rules are suspended.
Move to adopt ordinance 5-17, Municipal Code, Chapter 240, Stormwater Management. Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion of possible action on 2017 fire contract.
I gave you a memo on the proposed changes to the 2017 fire contract and a copy of the contract. Basically, the Village of North Hudson has asked for some input on the term of any debt repayment for capital costs exceeding $1 million. That's in paragraph 6, so that could be approved, would be approved by both, but the period cannot exceed 20 years. And then in paragraph 11, where the city terminates service to a municipality because it feels it can't give appropriate service, it's a 5-year notice period, but they wanted, and I think this is reasonable, not to have to pay their pro rata share of the capital equipment purchased during those 5 years after the end of the 5 years. So once they're no longer getting service, they won't be on the hook for capital costs incurred during those 5 years.
Are you looking just for an approval on?
Yeah, approval, and then we'll also notify the other municipalities so the contracts can be consistent. I would think they would want the same types of amendment. Yeah, so approval of this contract. Then it will go to the village. They haven't approved it yet, but this is what their attorney basically recommended.
Yeah. Move we approve the contract, 2017 fire contract for North Hudson and all of our partners.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on request for timely startup extension on liquor license from Lolo American Kitchen.
Someone here from Lolo tonight? Okay. Last month they came in, or last meeting, we extended to the end of April, but they've contacted again, so I asked them to, again, asked them to come this evening, so. I don't know if one of you want to come up and explain what you're looking for as far as the date and where you're at on the project.
So right now we are,
Please state your name and address.
Matt Hafler, 233 Main Street South, Stillwater. We are in the process right now of finalizing everything with Lolo. The liquor license extension goes until April 30th of this month. We have our elevator being installed starting Monday of next week, and we just want to be proactive with asking for one final extension to make sure that if a problem does arise with the elevator or a new sprinkler system that we had to install, that we have the opportunity to keep moving forward with everything and make sure it happens in a timely manner.
So how long are you looking for?
Just another 30 days.
You're sure that's the last one?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. We've had a lot of complications with our elevator company, and we've had a lot of complications with our sprinkler system, with sprinklering the underside of the exterior decks that were not planned for. But we do have everything in place right now to do all of those, and we expect to be finished by the end of the week, next week. We just want to be able to be proactive and ask for an extension now before the April 30th deadline comes into play, so.
I'll move to allow the extension to May 31st.
Second.
Okay, motion and second for extension. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah. On to new business, discussion of possible action on final development plans for retractable roof Mallory's Bar and Grill, 609 2nd Street, CMM Holdings, Inc., Jason Johnson.
Plan Commission recommends approval of the final development plans for the retractable roof for Mallory's Bar and Grill, 609 Second Street, by the applications by CMM Holdings Incorporated, Jason Johnson. This retractable roof covers the western half of the deck for Mallory's Bar and Grill. It has received conditional variance approval by the state of Wisconsin, also received approval by our city building inspector and our fire department. Again, Mr. Jason Johnson from CMM is here tonight to answer any particular questions you may have on final development plans. Recommendation is for approval.
I'll move we approve the proposal retractable roof for Mallory's.
Second.
Got a motion second. Discussion? All those in favor?
The only thing I see in here, there's a lot of discussion about sprinkler systems, and I'm looking for where it says we actually have approved that.
Well, it's not in the permit by the state. The approvals were approved by the fire department, in which that approval went to the state, and then the state offered their conditional variance. Any permit you get from the state on a state building permit's a conditional permit. I mean, that's just the way they issue them. But the fire department had to approve this prior to the application going to the state.
Okay, that's what I need. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on ordinance 6-17, amendment to chapter 202, signs, create a new subsection 202-6, D sub 6 to create new regulations to allow master sign plans to be approved in the I-1 Light Industrial District and I-2 General Industrial District.
The sign code permits master sign plans in our commercial districts. The master sign plan generally allows a plan for multiple lots, or lots that may be in the same subdivision, same commercial development, or in this case, the same industrial development. Probably the first application we would receive is the 2 new industrial lots south of the XL Energy Service Center out on Hanley and Old Highway 35. Again, this would allow two or more lots to combine signage, which in some cases would actually reduce the amount of signage overall as far as the number, and that's the reason we went to the master sign plan back about 4 years ago for commercial properties. Again, the sign that would be permitted be limited in size. Currently, for an individual industrial parcel, you can have a sign of 80 square feet up to 20 feet high. In this case, where you may have multiple lots, you can have a sign of up to 240 square feet, but the maximum size per business for signage would be 60 square feet. So if they had three businesses, they wanted the maximum size that they could have, it would be 180 square feet. So here, it's the same principle as we approved for commercial lots a few years ago, is trying to combine lots to try to reduce overall the number of signs in a cluster of development lots and so hopefully that would be the impact of it. Again, we currently do not, this would be a new creation of a provision in our sign ordinance. There's no public hearing required. If you want to consider it, you could have, rescind the rules and have first reading tonight, or have first reading and consider it in a couple of weeks.
I'll move to suspend the rules. Second.
Motion second to suspend. Roll call?
Morissette?
Yes.
Holmes?
Yes.
McCormick?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Doggett?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Rules are suspended.
Gonna move to approve ordinance 6-17.
Second.
And a motion second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, Denny. Discussion and possible action on Class A liquor and Class A beer license to Kushi Investment, Inc., doing business as Northland Liquor, 1920 Crestview Drive.
Here, here.
Finance Committee recommended approval
I'll move to approve.
I'll
second.
with the contingency that they meet all inspections and turn over the
Yeah,
current license.
surrender the
Yep.
license.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion possible action on Resolution 06-17, disallowance of claim for excessive assessment for 2016 filed by Menard, Inc.
This is a method of appealing a property tax claim for excessive assessment. And so the procedure is, and I did discuss it with the city assessor, Roger Koski, and they attended the Board of Review, and the Board of Review obviously upheld the assessor's assessment. So I'm looking for an approval of this resolution so that we can give them notice of it, and that starts the time period in which they have to file suit if they want to file suit on this.
Move to approve resolution.
We need a motion to suspend.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Motion and second to suspend. Roll call?
Morissette,
Yes.
Helms,
Yes.
McCormick,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Hoggett,
Yeah.
Dahl.
Yes.
Rules are suspended.
Now I move to approve Resolution 17-06, disallowance of claim for an excessive assessment filed by Menard Incorporated.
Second.
Got a motion and second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on the bids for the 2018 single-axle plow truck.
Finance Committee recommended the purchase from Nuss Truck in the amount of $89,993. They were the low bidder, and they met all specifications.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on the bids for the 2018 plow and accessories.
The Finance Committee recommended awarding the bid to Universal Truck Equipment, $101,398.
So after finance, I talked to Tom about this, and the Universal bid on the prior request for this same sort of equipment, and the amount of that bid was $99,000. And there were multiple bidders on that bid, so I'm satisfied this is the low bid, and it meets, you know, it's within the financial area where it should be. So I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on the bids for Anderson Park restrooms.
Finance Committee also recommended approval of this project with the understanding that Paul Anderson will be donating the cost of the improvements plus a 10% contingency, and that will be held until the project's complete, and they will not authorize the project until they receive those funds.
I said it earlier, but that's a very, very generous donation. Thanks to Paul. Very nice.
So you'd be awarding the contract to Skyline.
I'm going to move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Motion and second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on adoption of preliminary resolution 7-2017 on special assessments for 2017 street improvements, Grandview Drive, Laurel Avenue, Divine Street, and order preparation for assessment report and set date for public hearing. Tom, welcome back.
Well, thank you. Yes, the item before you deals with the 2017 street improvements, which this year is Grandview Drive from Laurel Avenue to Vine Street. And typically, this has been a project that the council has assessed in past years, 2016 street improvements, 2015 street improvements. Council has previously ordered preparation of plans and specifications, which are being done currently, and to assess a portion of the project cost to the abutting parcel owners in accordance with the special assessment policy of the city. the following schedule that's in your packet was prepared. Obviously, starting tonight, as you said, with adopting a preliminary resolution, ordering preparation of the assessment report itself, and then setting a date for the public hearing. We would continue on with the finishing the assessment report, mail the notices to the affected parcel owners. Along with that, we would tie in advertising for the actual bids and receive them on the construction. You can see that the public hearing would be scheduled on May 15th. Going forward, we would have a bid opening on May 26th, and hopefully we would start construction mid-June for about a 2-month construction period. With that, the staff recommendation is to adopt the preliminary resolution attached, order preparation of the assessment report, and set May 15th, 2017 as the date for the public hearing on the proposed improvements and the special assessments. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Motion to suspend?
So moved.
Motion second to suspend the rules. Roll call.
Morissette,
Yes.
Yes.
McCormick,
Yes.
Hall, Hall,
Oh, yes.
Haggett,
Yeah.
Weber.
I am going to recuse myself on any of the discussions relating to assessments because I am directly impacted.
Okay. That's good. All right, rules are suspended. Discussion? We have a motion, rather?
I'll move we approve Resolution 7-2017, special assessments for 2017 street improvements.
Second.
And a motion second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Discussion possible action on the purchase of 2017 pickup for brush truck approved in 2016.
This was approved at, or recommended at finance as well, for the fire department to purchase a brush truck from Hudson Ford in the amount of $29,400.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Number 7 on the agenda, gathering of input and addressing questions, concerns from St. Croix EMS staff and common council members concerning potential integration of St. Croix EMS and Hudson Hospital Health Partners Lakeview, with representatives of Hudson Hospital Health Partners Lakeview present. So what we had done, as you recall, we had a meeting early on with the commission and had promised that we would have a hearing for the EMS, St. Croix EMS, to discuss with us the concerns that they had, any questions that they have, any statements that they wanted to make. This, of course, was, again, pursuant to a meeting that we had, at our last meeting that we had, where the proposal was first presented to the council and the public at large. So, in following up and keeping with that promise, tonight we're going to have anybody that would like to come up and comment on that is currently with the EMS staff from St. Croix. And if you have questions for us, that's fine. And also, if you have questions for representatives from the hospital, if they are questions that can only be answered by them, we would ask them to then answer those questions. But please, if you do have questions that you would like to address to the hospital staff, if you would address them through the council, that would be very much appreciated. So, who would like to start off?
Bradley Petit, 722 3rd Street. My first question here is, what is the driving change? We've been told it's not about money, so we are curious as to what the rationale is behind the change.
You're looking for an answer right now?
I guess not, if we don't have.
I
can move on, I got more.
I wasn't sure how you wanted to do it, if you wanted to take it,
Yes is the answer.
okay.
Otherwise, we can just keep naming them.
Yeah. I
Okay.
got more.
I think had been stated that the proposal, well, there was an offer, and I was not at this meeting, at the EMS commission meeting. Tom McCormick is our representative to that commission, and he can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, as could the people here from the hospital. But there was a request made for, I believe, for ambulance, and it had been requested of the hospital that perhaps they kick in on the cost of that ambulance, and the hospital came back with a suggestion that perhaps we take a look at a proposal that they may want to present to us where they would take over the service itself. And as I have said in the past, I think that I hope that I would echo the sentiment of the council that anytime we are presented with an option to take a look at service that might be provided as good, if not better, and save us money, that's something that we would need to take a look at.
Okay. My next question off that is, what other operational models have we studied?
We haven't studied any operational models.
Okay.
I mean, we're aware of the way the St. Croix EMS operates, and we're aware of the way Lakeview operates, and there's nobody else that we're looking at because there's nobody else in the picture.
Okay. So if there were more in the picture, would we be able to evaluate that and consider that as well?
We're not looking for suitors,
Okay.
you know.
What is the plan for first responder coverage in our service area in which we currently utilize first responders? And have those representatives of the area been approached about the model in which they'd be served?
That's still being worked on.
Okay.
Is that something Mr. Muller can consider? I don't know if he's allowed to, I'm just.
Again, yeah, if you would ask that to us, and you identify yourself, please.
Absolutely. Joel Elkin, a paramedic with St. Croix EMS, and I have a couple additional questions too, but just dovetailing on what Mr. Batiste said, I was just curious if a representative from Lakeview or from the community or from the council could explain or articulate what the plan is to utilize first responders or to not utilize first responders.
Well, as I just said, it's still being discussed, and we don't have the final plan at this point.
Okay.
It's something, you know, it's something obviously we're concerned about and looking into.
Okay. With the Lakeview model and the dynamic deployment that's been discussed in the past, there's been a mention that they would base 2 ambulances here in the city of Hudson. Is there any contractual language or anything obligating those ambulances to stay here and not be part of dynamic deployment, or are they part of dynamic deployment for the rest of the Lakeview system?
They would be part of the dynamic deployment model that has been presented, and there would be contractual language to that effect, that we would have 2, I mean, that's one of the things that we have talked about from day one, is that if this is going to be as good, if not better, that we would need to have 2 ambulances staffed right here in Hudson. And so Kathy, city attorney here, could probably answer that maybe if she wanted to on the contractual language. I mean, we don't have a contract drawn up yet, but certainly that would be part of the language.
We are working on the contract, and it won't exempt them from participating in the dynamic deployment, but it will include a procedure whereby if 1 ambulance is out in service, or if 2 ambulances are out in service, when the 3rd one comes in, that sort of thing. So, and establishing a coverage point for Hudson.
Okay. And that was a clarification from the last meeting where they had spoken to the fact that their resources would be available to Hudson. I just wanted to clarify that the Hudson resources would be available to Stillwater and
Correct.
might be on their calls as well. And then with the 2 paramedic model, which is what Lakeview currently runs, they had made the offer, or maybe that came from Health Partners, to utilize a paramedic EMT crew and potentially sponsor some EMTs to go through paramedic training. Is that paramedic EMT crew going to be based in Hudson, or do we know the answer to that yet?
I don't think we know the answer, but maybe John or somebody from Lakeview can address that, if you can.
Yeah, would you like me to
Sorry, go ahead.
address it now? John Muller,
Might as well.
Lakeview EMS. The plan that I presented on the 27th was, we talked about employing potentially 4 of the current EMTs that work the majority of the full-time hours today with St. Croix EMS, In that model, the agreement would be that they would work for us full-time and go to school. And yes, they would work the ambulance, but no, we would not have them working here in Wisconsin. That doesn't mean that they can't ever work over here, but on a scheduling process, we would not schedule them over here. Again, I had mentioned on the 27th that our license in Wisconsin dictates that we operate with 2 paramedics, different than the St. Croix EMS model. Does that answer the
Does
question?
that answer your question?
So are you saying that EMTs can only work in Minnesota under your current license? Is that?
Yeah, that's correct. In Minnesota, we can operate with the medic EMT model.
Can you get a different license for here?
Yeah, you can close the business out and then reapply for a license under a different model.
Okay, you could do that.
Yeah, correct. Our company could do that.
Okay.
So I guess if Lakeview is okay with the paramedic EMT model for the next 3 years, why can we not have a paramedic EMT model here in Hudson permanently?
Didn't you just answer that?
Well,
I can
with the change
elaborate
of
on it. So again, the idea of this was to look at how can we deliver the highest level of care, the best response times, and clearly the highest level of care is with 2 paramedics in the ambulance. I don't think anyone can object to that or think that that's not the best model. And again, I want to be very careful. I have the utmost respect for what the EMTs do and the work they do. We work with these guys a lot. I have friends on the department, so it has nothing to do with who they are or what they do. But truly, the highest level is 2 paramedics. Is it acceptable for us to do that model? We're trying to benefit those people that were working the majority of the hours, and I think that was a pretty generous offer. And to get them through school, we give them a 3-year time frame. Hopefully, they're done in a year. And then we go back to the 2 paramedic model.
Good evening. I'm Glenn Hartman with St. Croix EMS. I've been with the service since 1988, and I've been a volunteer, started out as a volunteer firefighter and EMT when I was 18 years old. So I've been in this business for quite a while, actually. And we've been talking about dynamic deployment and some other things tonight, which are all very important topics. But I just want to touch on a few things. Myself and the late Dan O'Connell, along with the late Kitty Rhodes, we went down to the state and we testified to get the 2 paramedic rule relaxed in the state of Wisconsin so that we could bring advanced life support here to Hudson. Because at the time, as some of you may or may not know, Wisconsin required 2 paramedics. And we couldn't afford that at the time. So my job at the time when I was chief was to bring our service to advanced life support, which we did. And I'm very proud of that. And I'm proud of the people that, and the men and women that I've worked with on St. Croix EMS. I think we've provided the most efficient, cost-effective service that can be asked of any city-run operation. Which leads me to just digress for a second. Mr. Mueller talked about the 2 paramedic and how that is for them, the definitive program for them. But I might remind them that St. Paul Fire gets by with doing a paramedic EMT, Oakdale, River Falls, New Richmond, Baldwin. Their systems have worked just fine. And in fact, I encourage Mr. Mueller to get up and share with us his statistics on where the 2 paramedic program is better than what we offer here. And if we decide that maybe 2 paramedics is best for our community, I would like to ask the same thing that Joe Elkin mentioned, which is, why is that not an option for all of our current paramedics here? One of the other things, I guess, I don't necessarily need you to answer, but I would just like to kind of throw this out there. Do you have an idea of a date and time where there would be a public hearing? Because I think there's a lot of staff here, but there are also people in the community that have reached out to me and have reached out to other members of our service and asked them questions. And there's some questions that we can answer, and there's some questions that we cannot answer. Those questions can only be answered by council. So we hope that there's an opportunity for the public to have some input on this very important topic. Is there a plan?
Yes. We were hoping to have a hearing next Tuesday when we do our reorganization meeting, but unfortunately not all of the council members can be here for that, and we thought that it's important that we all be here for that meeting. So hopefully we'll be able to do it the following week.
May 5th. Or the first meeting in May?
Well, either that or a special meeting. It was just brought to my attention this evening that not all the members are going to be here next week. So that was the meeting that I was planning to do the citizen input, citizen hearing. And so it will be a week or two after that. It'll be hopefully if everybody's here, it will be the very next meeting after that one. Jim?
Have we discussed, we thought about a larger venue, because we've basically almost filled the room with just EMTs, and if we get 50 citizens turning out, we're not going to be able to hear them, or...
No, that's something we
I
can,
don't know.
something we can discuss.
If we've done that before, or...
If we move chair, we need about 70 in here if we...
Okay, Glenn?
Yeah, and just one last thing. I think that I'm glad to hear the term dynamic deployment. I think it's a very important concept for all of you on council to understand. I certainly, with all due respect to Lakeview, all of us that are in the business and have been in this business, and by the way, I've been through this 3 times in my career. I did it with Stillwater Ambulance when it became Valley Ambulance, and when Valley Ambulance became Lakeview Ambulance. I've been through this rodeo, so to speak, before. The dynamic deployment concept, I would just beg all of you to really take a very serious look at. I'm encouraged to hear that you're at least talking contractually as far as what Lakeview is going to be forced to provide when they say that they're going to be based here. Being based here and for a period of time, what is that period of time? What is obligating them to keep their truck here? They also have customers, and they're a business, and I understand that, and that's a part of doing business, and I understand the EMS business. But at some point, I think there is going to come a time when Lakeview then would be forced, or at some point would at least have to begin to take a look at their other customers in St. Joe's, Stillwater, North St. Paul, where they need to satisfy those customers as well. So I believe that we would all be on equal footing, other than if your ambulance service remains here in town and we're obligated to our citizens here. A community that we have invested in as volunteers, that I've lived in this community a very long time and invested in, and my time is probably coming to an end with my age, but I think we've proven ourselves, and I'd like to know, I guess, your philosophies as far as what's wrong with the system that we have now, what's wrong with our EMTs or the staff that we have, our paramedics. Maybe it's just time to take a look at a different system. I would appreciate at least the opportunity to do that, a different model, and for us to keep an open mind and to be very transparent. That's all I have. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight.
Thanks, Glenn. Anybody have any questions?
The last question I had was just a clarifying question, either for the council or for Mr. Muller. But at the last meeting, Mr. Morissette had asked about how many ambulances Lakeview currently owned. And if I'm correct, I believe it was 5. I don't know if you can answer that, or 5 ambulances. And then you also had asked on a busy weekend, such as a concert weekend in Somerset, how many ambulances were available to Somerset without disruption to 911 service. And the answer for Mr. Muller was 5. So I'm just curious where those ambulances are coming from that can both cover 911 without disruption and cover the city or the village of Somerset during a concert weekend.
John, do you want to answer that?
So today we own 5 ambulances. In a week or so, we'll own 7. We have 2 brand-new ambulances that are still getting radios installed. So that's what we own. Those will be licensed ambulances. As far as covering events, like Joe talked about for the concerts, what we do when we have large events that potentially are going to need EMS resources, I think I talked about this last couple weeks ago. We require the promoter to pay for those dedicated services to the event. The Somerset concert, one that occurs in August every year, we have 5 years of data. Our calls we've had in the venue are consistent. We know what we need for resources there. And our ultimate goal is that we can handle the venue and the events that happen at the venue without disrupting the 911 system. So at the venue itself, we staff 3 ambulances, and we contract with them. Last year, we contracted with Hudson. Hudson provided a truck 2 of the days, I believe it was 2 of the days, for us, for a contracted fee. We have a fee that we charge the promoter, and that's the fee that we pass on to whoever helps us out with that. New Richmond has helped us with that, and Lakes Regions EMS has helped us with that. We can provide that service on our own, but it gives us a little bit of a break. And it's a fun event for the EMS providers to come out, and it's been a great way for us to work with the other departments. So that's how we cover those larger events. Smaller events, 5K races, a lot of times we'll staff it with 1 truck for the hours of the event. Again, leaving our 911 system, which is 3 ambulances, to continue to do the 911 operation side. So
John,
that's how we do events.
John, you said you staff at those bigger events in Somerset 3 ambulances?
Yep.
You have 5 to 7 coming, 5 right now, 7 in the near future. But your coverage, Health Partners, Lakeview's model covers North St. Paul, Washington County, majority of the northern part of Washington County.
Yep.
And then you've got St. Joe, Somerset in this area.
Yep.
I don't see how you're gonna do it in the summer, in a busy time. How are you gonna honestly keep 2 ambulances in Hudson, which we demand, because half the time during the summer, all 3 of our vehicles are out? You're telling me you have up to 7 possibly
Right.
in the near pipe?
Well, that we own 7 vehicles. We're not staffing 7 vehicles. So, our deployment is based on year-to-year statistics and operations. Our goal, I bring back to my leadership, if we're giving away mutual aid calls to a point that I don't think is appropriate for us to be covering any of our cities, that's when I need to request more services day to day. In the data that we looked at for St. Croix EMS, the data that we were provided, meaning the steering committee, representatives from all areas, we were told that the St. Croix EMS backup truck was utilized or requested 275 times last year. That's 15% of the total call volume. And then the 3rd ambulance was utilized 55 times for 5% of the total volume.
I think that's fine with the statistics that you're saying.
John, are you done? Are you finished?
No.
I've got a question to that.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Tom.
Well, he's in the middle of a response. Wait until he responds, and then you can
Tom,
ask.
you can ask him your questions when you want, how you want them.
I'm not asking him questions. I just thought it was impolite to
What I'm
interrupt him.
asking
That's
is,
all.
why would we go ahead based on statistics? And
Well-
we know we have 3 ambulances now working.
But you don't.
Who says?
Well, I just gave you the statistics that you guys provided us.
But we have 3 ambulances now that can accommodate what we're doing. Why would we reinvent the wheel and then go off and on, if we're lucky, have 2 ambulances based here all the time?
If you gave someone the statistics that St. Croix EMS did last year, they would tell you don't need 2 ambulances in your city, based on the numbers. So, again, I bring that up based on the numbers. You have to use data to decide how you're gonna do it.
And I would agree with you, but none of the 6 of us have those numbers except for Mr. McCormick. We don't have a plan, we haven't seen a plan, so maybe that's why we need that information first, and we also need, I know there's another plan by our own EMS that we haven't even seen.
Randy, what information have you requested that you haven't been provided?
Well, see, Tom, they're throwing a lot of data at us.
I'm asking
We haven't
you,
seen
I'm
that data,
asking
have
you a
we?
question. What information
Tom.
have you asked of us that hasn't been provided?
Have we seen the data?
Have you asked for it?
Well, those numbers were presented,
They're at an EMS meeting.
yeah, that's
It's an open meeting,
the
Randy.
last meeting.
So what I'm going to say on that is having 2 and Joe had asked a question about the location, what is the location or the staffing? So the model that we presented was 2 ambulances 24 hours a day in the city of Hudson, staffed here, crew changes will occur here, and those trucks will be here unless they're on calls. So again, the way it operates today, when your 2 trucks are out, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if your 2 trucks are out, your primary truck and your backup truck, and a 3rd call comes in, the model is you send a page out to the on-call people, and they have up to 4 minutes to respond in. Again, that happened 55 times last year. In the model that we presented, we're going to have 2 trucks here 24 hours a day, staffed with 2 paramedics, out the door within 90 seconds, that's our policy. And when those 2 trucks are busy, then another truck is moved into the area. If that truck goes out, meaning into the city, if that truck goes out, then we move another truck over. That's what dynamic deployment is, and dynamic deployment works very well.
John, I'm going to interrupt you here a second because I want the EMTs to have an opportunity here to finish, get through everybody that wanted to speak.
I'm back. Thanks. Just a couple things. I think Mr. Mueller made a great point for us, and so did Mr. Morissette, in that we have a volunteer system. We've incorporated a volunteer model with our full-time paramedics. They operate with a full-time paramedic program. I guess part of what we're saying is we'd like to have that opportunity as well. If that's what's decided, that's the best. If that's such a great program, it is, and they're good people. I'm sure they're paramedics, and we're all part of that family, and they're professionals, and so are we. And we would just like the opportunity to have, if that's what the council decides is the best program, we would just like our staff and our volunteers to have an opportunity to provide that here as well. I think that's pretty simple. So Mr. Mueller made a great point for us. Thank you. One thing I'd just like to add, that some of the staff don't feel obviously comfortable in coming up, and we want to try to make this as quick as possible as well. But they just wanted me to also reiterate that would the EMTs also have an opportunity to present a plan at that special meeting? That they would like to have the opportunity to put a plan together much the same way that Mr. Mueller was able to do that with.
At the public hearing?
Yes.
Will that plan discuss financial implications?
Well, I don't know. Is that something that council would feel would be important? Because obviously Mr. Mueller has been kind of allowed to have a lot of information that he was given prior to his presentation. I guess we would like to be afforded the same opportunity to know if there were questions from council that they had or concerns that our staff would have that opportunity to have that present, information
My
as
question
well.
was, would your plan take into account financial?
I don't know if it could, Mr. McCormick. I'll tell you why. And part of the problem is that for Mr. Mueller got up here and talked about 5 years of data that they have. I'd like to see that data. We, because we're a public entity, have to provide that data to him. He, conversely, Health Partners, does not have to do that. He can get up here and say whatever he wants to some degree, with all due respect. I'm not saying that he's not giving us right information. I'm just saying that he's probably not giving us all the information.
What
And
information do you think he's not giving you?
I don't believe that they are being totally, when it comes to their response times, I don't believe that they are being totally transparent, to put it bluntly. That's my opinion.
Okay.
So I feel that when we start talking about fractile times and things like that, that people become confused by that. These are some of the things that we would like to address at that, have that opportunity as well, Mr. McCormick. That's all I'm saying, sir.
So, Glenn, just so I understand what you want to do, you EMTs, or the EMTs want to present a plan that they think Hudson should consider with the current St. Croix EMS, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. My question to you is, are you going to put a dollar amount to that plan? Because at the end of the day, it's tax dollars that we are talking about. And I'm just wondering if you've thought about that.
It's funny you should mention that, because at the meeting that we had at the commission meeting, you told us that it wasn't about money.
I didn't say, I said that you know what, we don't have endless funds. There was a reason that we met with the hospital back in 2016, both Josh and Brandon were with us. We would not have pursued those discussions if there weren't some financial issues with our current system. It's not operating effectively right now. It cannot operate the way it's currently set up. It's going to cost more money if it has to change. Those are taxpayer dollars that we have to be concerned about.
Thank you very much. I afford you the opportunity then to recall what my first argument was and why myself and the late Kitty Rhodes changed and went to the paramedic EMT concept. That is the most cost-effective and efficient way to run an ambulance service. Mr. Christensen came here, and we hired him as chief, and he incorporated the quick response vehicles. He gave us the most efficient and cost-effective system that there's out there. Once again, I'm going to say again, St. Paul Fire seems to do just fine with it. River Falls seems to do just fine with it. New Richmond seems to do just fine with it because it's cost-effective. So to your point, Mr. McCormick, I agree. I agree, absolutely, sir.
I don't know what you're agreeing with, Glenn.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with it. I think we should keep it here in town with people that have an investment, our staff, and our community. That's all I'm saying, sir.
Glenn, I think as public officials, we always have an obligation to look at what the options are. If we can get a system that is not operating the best right now, and if there's an alternative to it, we at least have to take a look at it. Nobody's made a decision, but we have to take a look at it. You know, I think that's our duty.
What do you mean it's not? I've not heard any information that says this is not an effective system. You just threw that out there. What's your data behind that?
Well, last year, two of our, how many hours did you work, Brandon, last year? 4,000 hours Brandon worked. And how many did Josh work? See, we have a system in which our chief is working 4,000 hours a year. It's not sustainable. And the reason he has to do that is because the current staffing doesn't allow him to not work that many hours. So it's not, our system is not operating effectively right now.
Glenn, I would like to get back to you. One of the things that we hear, and it's kind of a back and forth on this, is response times. And I think we all want to get to the bottom of that. What would you like to see coming from the Lakeview system that would answer your questions about response times?
So there's some questions, and thank you for asking that, actually. There's some questions that Lakeview is dispatched through Alina. We've been unable to at this point to get Lakeview's true response times because they take some liberty, to Mr. Morsette's point about how the statistics can be manipulated. I mean, we all know that. They can kind of paint statistics any way they want. We just want there to be transparency and apples to apples. So if, to Mr. McCormick's point and to your point, we would like to see their response times. If they're gonna say that we don't have good response times or we're unable to staff a truck all the time, which I might add, once again, we're doing a volunteer system. If we had a full-time system, that wouldn't be an issue. I would just like us, I'd like to see their financials. If we're going to present financials on our side, I think it's only fair then that we see their financials, right?
Glenn, I don't think they're going to provide their financial information because they're a private company, but I just want to make one point, Glenn. Nobody's saying we don't have a good system. We do, and it's been effective because of you and other people that have been working on it. But I'm telling you, and you probably know as an insider, that we cannot have a chief working 4,000 hours a year. Otherwise, he's not going to be around. And so we need to change some things, and that's what prompted this whole discussion with Lakeview is, some changes needed to be made, and this is an opportunity to look at an alternative.
I hope you don't feel, sir, that I'm attacking you. I'm not. I think we're in agreement that we all want to do what's best for our community. That's all we care about. So
Glenn, I don't feel that way at all. It's not a problem.
Okay.
I get worse than this in the courtroom.
One last thing, though. Mr. Mueller got up here and did, though, allude to the fact that our current system is not up to par. He kind of hinted at that, and that's why you heard some of the moans. I hope he doesn't truly feel that way. He says that's the statistics that he received from our staff. We're a growing community, and we do need to grow, and we do need to change. You're absolutely right, sir. I agree.
Glenn, I want to get back to the information that you're looking for.
Okay.
Okay? So, John, are you able to provide him, our St. Croix EMS service, with the information that they're looking for in a format that would be agreeable to everybody, that the information's correct?
If our legal is, yeah, I think so. It seems to me that our debate is not with St. Croix.
Right. Yeah, we know that, yeah.
We provide you the information. For those of you who know me, I'm Ted Wegler.
Ted, maybe you should
You
step
gotta-
up to, please.
It's our TV audience that wants to see it.
I'm Ted Wegler, and I'm the president of Lakeview Hospital, and it seems to me that the decision that needs to be made is by the council.
Right.
And we're not in a debate with St. Croix EMS. We have great respect for the work they do. You need to decide whether or not Lakeview and bringing the two ambulance services together adds value. Can we come together and reduce costs for the community? Can we come together and increase the quality of care? Can we come together and maintain or improve response or service? If we can, then we add value. If you think we, by coming together, can add value, I would think you'd say, yeah, we probably should pursue that. If you don't, that's your decision, and we're fine. The relationship with the community of Hudson is very important to us. With our hospital here and a lot of Hudson people we see at Lakeview Hospital, it is very important to us. We're involved in the schools, we're involved in the community. That relationship is critical to us. We don't want to alienate the relationship based on us. We can provide whatever data you would like. I get a little concerned when the integrity is being questioned in our data. I would stand behind our data and the way our data is pulled and hold it up against anyone. So we have no problem sharing that data. There are certain things as an organization that we can't share. We can't share our contracts. It's against our contracts to share those kinds of things, as Tom was referring to. So there's certain things we just can't.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
I think so. And I appreciate your statement. But I just want to make sure that any data that might be shared with our organization is going to be, once again, in a format that you guys are going to say, okay, this is, yeah, we can either verify or dispute this. Is that,
Yes, absolutely. All we're asking for is apples to apples.
okay? All right. Thank you. Thanks, Ted.
Tom, I think, just to clarify, when you say that our system is not effective, it's not sustainable, I think would might be a better word.
That is a better way of putting it. It's not sustainable.
Good evening. I'm Lance Ross. I'm a member of the ambulance service, but also a citizen over at Northridge Drive, 1507 Northridge Drive. You bring up some good points. You mentioned community partnerships, collaboration. I think you heard from some of my colleagues, community partnership, collaboration. We're all in this together. We all have the same thoughts, ideas. There's a lot of speculation, a lot of rumors going around. Even tonight, we saw some different back and forth of what information I didn't get, I think amongst the council here themselves. We hear a lot about closed session that have occurred, information that was talked about at closed sessions, but you can't share that. I think you can if you want to. I think there is information in those closed sessions that can be shared. These work groups that we talk about, I asked at the EMS meeting, the commission meeting, where you asked us to what some of our thoughts were, and with that, I asked a simple one. I started out with some simple pieces of, can you tell me who's on the work groups? And I think Nate, you said, I think that'd be okay, and I think the nods around the room said, that'd be okay. You even said, can we get that? I haven't seen that yet. I'm sure there's a lot of smart people on these committees, on these work groups. I don't know that. As a citizen, I get concerned about that a little bit. Again, very smart, intelligent people, but if we're here for the community, why don't we open it up a little bit? Why don't you get some other folks involved? Get some other experts. You got folks here that run ambulance services other places. Tom, you've mentioned, and I've heard this, we've looked at St. Croix, we've looked at the city of, or Lakeview as well. That's 2 systems.
Well,
not done yet.
I just want to correct it again. We weren't out looking for a.
I know you're not. I'm recommending something, if I may.
Let me finish. We weren't looking for a partner. Josh, Brandon, and I met with Jackie and Doug, the financial guy, in the summer of 2016 because we were trying to see if we could get the hospital to contribute to the purchase of a new ambulance. Mm-hmm. We had a couple meetings, and then I think it was at the 3rd meeting, and Brandon, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it was at the 3rd meeting that they presented this possible plan to integrate St. Croix EMS with the hospital. Mm-hmm. So if people in the community think we were out trying to shop St. Croix EMS and looking for a different partner, that's simply not true. That's not the way it happened.
That's part of the speculation and rumors. I wasn't going that way when you interrupted me, but what I was saying is, why don't we do a study? City of River Falls just put out for a bid for a study on how to operate their ambulance service. I don't know all the particulars, is in the River Falls paper. What's the harm of doing a study of where we're currently at, both systems, what other best practices are out there, where are we compared to where we should be based on growth, based on where we started? Have we done any increases? I don't need answers, but looking at how we pay for this, or, John mentions the 2 paramedic model. Glenn's mentioned the EMT paramedic model, which we have. There's other ways to do this. Why don't we pull together a study and see what's best for the community, but also open it up to some other folks, but have open sessions about it and not closed sessions. I understand that there's the need as a non-governmental agency, non-profit, whatever you want to, health partners, that there's some information on the contract side, like you alluded to,
that can't be shared. But I really do think there's stuff that can be shared from the city perspective out of closed session, as well as health partners. And I think we've hid behind some little politics pieces in some aspects, but also in the way we can do things. Like, for instance, tonight, we suspended some rules. I'm guessing, I'm not fully up on this, but you could probably suspend some rules to have people outside of EMS, concerned citizens that are standing here. You could probably suspend rules and take a vote and have them talk as well tonight. Is that correct or not?
I really don't know the answer to that. I've only been on this job a year myself, and this is the last two meetings, is the first time that we have invoked the rule that has been invoked before here about the citizen comments relative to something that's on the agenda. But I can tell you, one of the things that we wanted to do first, before we had a public hearing, is to get as much of the information out there as we can before we start taking public comments. I do also want to get back to a point that you made about the information in closed session. I believe that everything that we can talk about, all the information that we can talk about, has been out there and has been discussed here at the council. We certainly have had updates that came from the steering committee as well as the commission since the negotiations started. And those updates were happening, I would say, at least once a month. And then with the meetings that we've had recently, I can't think of any other information that we can talk about that is not out there right now.
And it's all public and it's available. You can find it very easily.
But part of the reason that there needs to be closed session is because we're negotiating.
So that's another question I have.
Can I finish?
You're right. Yeah, absolutely.
We're negotiating. This is a arm's length negotiation with Lakeview, and we can't go tipping what our information is to Lakeview because we have a negotiating position, and that's what most of the discussions have been about.
So that was another question I have. Thanks for bringing that up. Is this a collaboration? Is this a partnership? Is it transfer of service? Those are three things I've seen in the limited amount of minutes that I've been able to find. So I'm curious, and I think a lot of us are curious, is how far down the path is this? If we're negotiating contracts and there's still questions and the public hasn't been able to ask anything yet, if you're negotiating contracts, or if you're developing that contract, where are you getting your information from the public if they have questions and comments and concerns? How far along are you? I see questions and comments amongst your council members. I'm not sure they have all the information that they care to know about, or from the closed sessions as well.
Well, there is, again, the council members have all the information that is available to any of us. And, whether they fully understand the information, I guess
Council,
questions have to be answered. Just one second. I lost my train of thought. You had asked a question about
The contract.
the contract. The contract. So yes, and I think that's a very, very good question, legitimate question. There is no contract. There will be, if we are going to vote on this, there must be a contract in front of us to vote on. And right now, we are negotiating as to what that contract might look like. Length of time, guarantees, things like that. The fractile, what happens if they violate or go beyond the 90% rule with fractile. All of those things need to be discussed and put into a contract before we can get it in front of people to even vote on. So that's what's happening right now. There is no contract yet. but there are
But
certain.
there's contract negotiations.
There are certainly, no, I wouldn't even say that yet.
That's what he said, I believe.
There are negotiations going on. We are in a bargaining situation with them right now, and I think what you're referring to is when Tom said this is what's happening in closed session, because we have bargaining positions that we cannot be disclosing to people, and that's accurate. And the closed sessions that we are having here are among the council members, and they have been privy to all the information that I believe that is available through the commission. But I think that's an important piece for people to understand, that in order for us to have a vote, we would need to have a contract in front of us, and we need to be discussing elements of what that contract would look like. And that's kind of what's happening right now. Kathy, go ahead. Did you?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify the closed sessions. Were council closed sessions authorized under statute for developing a negotiating strategy? They're not negotiations with Lakeview. They're to develop our bargaining position as a council.
So-
And that's why they're confidential.
You know, I think it's also very important to note that there are no votes that happen in closed session. There's nothing binding that can happen in closed session. Anything that is discussed in closed session that is going to come before the council must be voted on publicly, and at that point in time, all pertinent information becomes public.
How about the work group? Is there meeting minutes from the work groups that are public?
No, I don't know if there are, but Brandon has been part of a lot of those. So have you talked to him?
I'm asking you, are there meeting minutes at all?
I'm not a part of that.
You're on
Well,
work
there's
groups,
the
aren't you?
operations work group and the steering committee, and those, we haven't been involved as,
You don't sit on any of those?
No.
no,
But Brandon has been involved with those.
yes.
Yeah, I get that, but I'm asking, is there meeting minutes is what I'm asking.
No, I don't know. They're not public, minutes of public bodies, and so they're not governed by the same statutes
Okay.
that the council and subcommittees of the council would be governed by.
So let me clear up a couple things for you. Typically, we as council people, we're not allowed to talk to more than one other council person on any other thing. We can't share information with another council person that I talk to. Bill and I, we love each other, but we don't talk ever, because if you're on the same committee, that's like a walking quorum, so we really don't interact really at all outside of this environment. Number one. Number two, closed session's usually the first time we hear about most anything. And typically, it's to authorize someone to have a conversation. That's usually just about it. I don't know a lot of the details. I haven't been to any of these other meetings. I don't know the other EMS stuff. I'm presented what's presented to me, kind of like you in a way, but I have taken the time to start to figure out some of the other things and read between the lines myself, just so that when the time comes to make a decision, and we are allowed to discuss this in a public forum when we vote on it, then I can start to potentially help out with the conversation. I will clear up a couple things that I know. Money is a factor here. Lakeview would take over and run this system without any cost to the city of Hudson. Now, for those of you that don't know that, that's a lot of money. Currently, our dollars per capita that's spent on our EMS, according to Tom and Brenda, is quite a bit lower than the state average, substantially lower than the state average, which is why we run a paramedic EMT model to begin with. I'm not saying that's a bad model. In fact, I've gotten a lot of feedback from people I've met that it is a good model. But they currently can't do that with their current license. So if they wanted to, they would have to change their license to run the model that way. If we were to up our dollars per capita to what you call it, the Chevy, we got to spend another.
I don't know if we want to get into that.
I really do, Tom, because I think what we're not saying to people is that we're smart and we actually know what's going on, that there is a lot of conversation that you can understand. The point is that in order to, I won't talk about dollars. I'm just saying that in order to upgrade our EMS to be sustainable, it's going to cost the taxpayers quite a bit more money. Now, if you look at it from my perspective, who's just sitting here, can't talk to anybody else, I have to say, hey, what's the risk reward here in this world? Do I continue to try to upgrade my current scenario, or do I get now service that's being paid for by Lakeview that does not no longer burdens the taxpayer in the city?
And as a council person, and as these guys have been doing for a long time, faced with that situation, you have to say, well, I don't know what the answer is, but I personally, John Hoggett, know that in my district and those that I represent are very concerned about what happens next. And so here we are now getting comment from you guys, and eventually we're going to get comment from citizens. And I've done enough of these open sessions where to put everyone together to ask questions all at the same time, it's going to be a lot of questions.
Which I don't think is a bad thing.
Right, but I think we're going to take it in two chunks. So
No, that's fine.
we're learning more as we go. I'm learning a ton as more. I'm not trying to disclose anything that I shouldn't, I don't think. But this is not an easy decision, not even close. But there is a big, hey, lots of money over here and no money over here as part of the taxpayer's obligation.
Yep.
So hopefully that clears a few things up, but that, from my perspective, that's what I know.
So really quick, how many of you council members feel you've got the full picture of what's going on and got all the information that's out there?
I feel like I have.
Well, you should. You've been involved, correct?
As of today.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it can't change tomorrow.
Yep. How about the rest of you?
Getting
Do you
there.
feel that you've got all the answers? You've got all the
I
questions?
think one really good answer that I could give you right now is I know way more about EMS than I did before. I didn't realize it was so underfunded and for so many years has gone to a point where we have people working way too many hours and not operating in a way it should be. I'm kind of mad at myself, actually, for not really getting that understanding, so.
Kathy, at what point can we discuss the financial implications in dollars and cents?
Well, part of that is our negotiating
Yeah,
strategy,
right.
and that's
That's what I
why that
mean,
was
yeah.
discussed in closed session. So, I mean, you stated that it's a financial consideration, and I think that's obvious and fine, but we don't want to get into details because frankly, we are working on behalf of the city to get the best contract, if that's the way the city goes, possible.
Yeah, so we are working on a contract.
Well, you have to be working on a contract in order to
I
have
get it.
something when it's decision time.
We have to have something to vote on.
We have not,
If-
yes.
But we don't have all the answers or questions. The other thing I heard John say is we're reading between the lines or something along that line, or we're trying to.
That's what I do.
Yeah, so trying to figure all this out, they shouldn't have to do that. It should be transparent. I think that's what the citizens want as well, some transparency and the ability to ask the questions, the ability to get the information, the ability to get it easily. You know, Mr. Mayor, respectfully, you say you should be able to find it. You're right, I've looked some. I haven't done a full in-depth, but every time I look, it says closed session, closed session, closed session. There's information in the paper, not much. Apples to apples, trying to figure out what's right. You mentioned some things, are we behind the times, whatever, in regards to payments, I forget the term, but what we're asking the taxpayers for.
Dollars per capita.
Yeah, thank you. So is it time to do a study? We spend money on public safety building study. We're spending some money on the lakefront property or lakefront park, a study for that to check that out and see what we should do with that. I think if you asked a lot of us, we could tell you that the public safety building needs a lot of renovations, a new public safety building, but we paid about $8,000 for that, I think. Why don't we put some money to a city service, to a study for a city service, to see if the Lakeview model's the way to go? A combination of the Lakeview model or St. Croix EMS is the way to go? The St. Croix EMS model is the way to go? Or maybe there's some other things out there that we could do best practice-wise and get that out there and be more transparent, make good decisions, good informed decisions, so everybody's at the table understanding, and the citizens know too.
Okay, thanks, Lance.
A couple more things. Mr. Hoggett, $14 a year is what we pay for EMS service. $14 a year. So the other thing I'd like to mention too is that if Lakeview enters into a contract, and I'm not looking for a response, I just want you to think about this. If Lakeview enters into a contract, the city enters into a contract, and they do not abide by that contract, what's the recourse?
it was stated at the last meeting that we can take over the program again. We just exit the contract and take over the program.
And, awesome. So if the ambulance remains here, then you have control if there's a problem, which is the way it should be. If our citizens have a complaint, then we can keep our finger on the pulse of that, and we can do and work with our bosses, you. Whereas if they fail, then we're back to square one and we're trying to reintroduce another system. I just ask you to think about that.
I'm sorry, a couple more things. One, I don't think I ever got my answer. If anybody else wanted to, public, if we could suspend those rules, I think, is that a possibility or not?
What we did tonight in suspending the rules is set up under the Hudson Code for adopting resolutions or ordinances. It's formal procedure
So we can't
provided
do that
for in
if
the
people
code.
want
This
to.
was set up as really for your benefit, so that, and at your request, so that the EMS staff could ask questions, make comments. The whole time could be devoted to EMS staff instead of sharing it with citizens.
Yeah, I
And so
actually-
that the council could hear that, just your perspective. And as Mayor O'Connor said, there will be another public hearing for citizen comments. So that's the plan that's been designed by the council and the mayor, and there's
Oh, you're
no
fine.
rules governing it, but that's how this was noticed, and it
Okay.
was at your request.
Yeah, and actually, I made the request, and it was that public and EMS could speak and ask questions. I asked the question, so I asked that earlier on when, at the EMS commission meeting, I'm the one that formally asked that. With that being said, I also made the recommendation that we do it at a bigger venue that can accommodate, because I didn't think it would, this would be a good venue for that. And I did also ask to do it outside of a, respectfully, because you guys have tight agendas and things like that, to open it up, because we could probably ask more questions. Health partners could probably ask some questions or provide some information as well. I think there's a lot of people that are interested. So that's my request, and I think somebody else brought this up. I think Mr. Weber did. Maybe we should look at a different venue that can accommodate, so folks won't have to stand for a couple hours either. So, thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else? Anybody? All right, well, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. We appreciate your input, appreciate obviously your concern, and look forward to the next phase of the progression down the line. So, moving on. Communication, I have a proclamation here for Arbor Day. Did you want to read that, or?
Sure, I can read it. Whereas 2017 marks the 145th anniversary of Arbor Day in the United States and 134th year of celebration by Wisconsin communities, and whereas trees are among Hudson's most beautiful natural resources and bestow fine opportunities for aesthetic appreciation and recreation, as well as improvements for our homes and public lands, and are indispensable to our ecology as providers of wildlife habitat, erosion control, air filters, and noise inhibitors. Whereas Hudson has been named a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation in recognition of the outstanding efforts by the city and its residents to provide the legal basis, financial investment, community participation to support an ongoing program to plant, nurture, and routinely maintain and restore the canopy of trees. Whereas demands on our environment and our environmental resources necessitate an increased awareness, ecological values, as well as the individual commitment to the study and appreciation of trees and their maintenance. Now therefore, I, Mayor Rich O'Connor, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 28th and Saturday, April 29th as Arbor Days in the city of Hudson, and call upon all citizens to participate in the Arbor Day celebration and continue to support and protect our trees and woodlands. And having said that, there is an event on April 29th, both up at the West Garage and down here at Lakefront Park. There is on the front page of the webpage, there is more information on that, including the flyers, so we'd encourage everybody to attend.
If you haven't been, it's absolutely amazing. Planting trees in the gravel bed, and
And lunch.
we're actually going to do lunch, and then we have, as part of the grant we got from the DNR last year, we have a tree trek that we've put into Lakefront Park. There's one out at Rivercrest Elementary, and what it is signs with QR codes and go up, kind of like Pokemon Go, but it's for phones. You can pull up the tree information. It gives you an educational tour of all the diversity of trees that we have in Lakefront Park, so it's worth going
How many of
to.
these rootless trees are there this year?
We doubled the size of our gravel bed, so we're gonna do about 80, about 40. It's actually better to be a little less dense in the gravel beds, so. And then we take them out in the fall and plant them around the city. That's kind of, so we're growing our trees better over the summer and then able to plant them in the fall when they can easily handle winter and go into next year. It's good stuff.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, John. Thanks. Devin? Anybody? Anything?
I have a couple things. When were we gonna bring back the liquor license issue for those 4 applicants?
We're waiting to hear from the town of Troy. Well, Jen, I don't know if you,
I haven't heard.
we haven't heard back from the town of Troy. They were gonna talk to the the Wisconsin Towns Association and find out what other communities have done. We have not, so we were kind of waiting, so we knew how many licenses we were actually dealing with. So as soon as we know that, we'll follow up, hopefully maybe next meeting. We'll
Okay.
provide some kind of an update next meeting, whether they're, maybe put some, I don't say pressure on the town of Troy, but find out where they're at on it so we can answer that. That's what we've been waiting on.
Okay, and then the ad hoc committee council pay?
We did not have any response for that.
Nobody.
So we'll
responded.
come back to the council?
I guess it will, yeah.
Okay.
So do with it what you'd like.
Okay. So add the next
Put it
agenda.
on a future agenda, okay.
And then I would just like to thank the residents of District 1 for my reelection. It's been an honor to serve you. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like us to address this, our code for our meeting about citizen participation. I've had the opportunity to go to several county meetings this year, and they have an open, if it's on the agenda, you can still talk about it, and that seems to work very well there. So
Well, I think
this was done before I was here, so why, can we go back and take a look at that?
You know what, I think we'll take a look at it, Jim. Certainly a question has been raised, but just because the county does it, doesn't make it the right way to do it.
Oh, yeah, I agree. But I think any opportunity we can have to have citizen input.
Well, and like in this
Our
case, I
benefit.
think that it's most important that people have as much information as they can possibly get before they start talking about an issue. I mean, certainly, we've got people here that don't think they have all the information, and we've had a number of people that have raised concerns about misinformation. They respond to misinformation. And I think it's very important that if you have something on the agenda that is going to be discussed, that it gets full discussion and all the information out prior to opening this up for conversation that might just be moot, incorrect.
I think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. We have this one particular
Perhaps, I
issue
guess.
that's huge.
Right now, I
But-
think we disagree on that.
Yeah.
And if we had citizen comment tonight before all this other information came out, it would have been just probably a big waste of time. And then they'd have to come back and respond to what they heard tonight. So I like the way the process is set up personally. I think that we get all the information out there that's critical and then we're not gonna make a decision until we have a public hearing. But I want the public to be as well informed before they comment on this as they possibly can be.
I can also check with other municipalities too and see what they do. So, okay.
And, as long as we're talking about that, and you've mentioned it a couple times, that, yeah, we need more information from the negotiation standpoint. The committees that are meeting, all those numbers, we should have a packet. We would need to see the data that they see, that you guys have seen, because we don't see what you guys have been negotiating with.
What do you want to see, Randy?
Everything you guys have seen.
Frankly, I think you've seen everything I've seen.
Where are these 5 years of data numbers, that kind of thing? That they see that us as council members have not seen.
Well, I think that came up at the they were analyzing response times. I wasn't at the meetings. We've seen summaries of response times, but I think tonight, Health Partners and Lakeview said they would provide information on response times.
Right.
And
And
that's fine.
frankly, when we have been provided with some data, it's hard to understand the data alone without an explanation of it. But I think they did agree to provide that, and so if you want that, we can ask them.
Well, I
For
would-
the actual data, we have summaries.
I'd imagine after the next public, we have more work to do prior to even with it. We have more work to do.
We should have that
Yeah.
information
Yeah.
from that community or that
That
workshop.
Yeah,
operations
I haven't seen,
group, I
if you
think
could
it's
just
called.
email it, I mean, you know, it'd be fine. We don't have to-
Yeah, email,
I haven't seen it either.
Whatever.
So you want response time data?
Yes, and the information that came out of that, any workshops that have been had, we should be able to be privy to that information. Not saying we haven't, we just haven't seen anything.
Well, Brandon, who's still here, has been a part of the operations work group. I don't know what other, I think it's been mostly EMS people and Lakeview EMS people figuring out how to set up a system. That's what their job has been.
We need to be informed to make a good decision.
Okay, I'll talk with Brandon about what kind of information he has.
Thank you.
All right, anything else?
Oh, I forgot, Urban Forestry Board, this year, the tree of the year is oh crap. It's
Chocolate something in it.
no, it's a maple. It's like it's a flowering fruit tree. Buy one. What? Serviceberry, thanks, Tom. Jeez, you were gonna get me. I know it. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Anything? Motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. We stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody.